Tonight's guest is the Grand Chefs of Gleann Secretary, Baroness Elizabeth Alexandra Donnan, and featuring a live performance by Lady Mella Cappera from the Canton of Summergate. And me, I'm your announcer, Master Bjorn of the Northern Sea. And here's your host, Master Laertes McBride.
You know, it's been a while since I forgot to unmute myself, so give me a break. It's the beginning of a new month, so I thought I would start that. Start it off, like we used to. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's March already. So I hope you had a good week. And I just want to share a few things. Just a reminder that on Saturday, March 27th at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to have our next royal court, the first court of Their Majesties Panza and Catherine. So be sure to tune in. The information will be on the Kingdom of Caid Facebook group page with the Zoom link and such. And in addition, I know as we seem to be turning the curve a little bit, and I know that the kingdom officers in the crown are hard at work coming up with a plan on how to safely reopen the kingdom as we march forward towards that time when we can all get back together. So let's give them that time to figure out what the plans are, and I'm sure there'll be updates as we move along, and exciting times. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have. Let's go ahead and bring in Bjorn and see what's going on with my friend. He is right here. Hello, Bjorn.
Hello there.
And how is March for you?
Well, thus far, relatively new, and we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm making a sojourn. I'm making a trek where I'm going to socially distance, clutch in my paws, my giant paws, Girl Scout cookies. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's been all I've been looking forward to, man. I mean, let's be honest.
Hi, and my daughter thanks you once again for your support on her endeavors, especially these times where she can't really go door to door, or they're not doing boothing here in Burbank. So, and March was home of one of my favorite events back in the day of March Hare, over in the Shire of Heatherwine.
Mm-hmm.
I was honored to be selected to dress up as a 6-foot rabbit and terrorize children. So that was always the highlight of my March, taking the plastic eggs with candy and hurling them as hard as I could at the small children. So I really enjoyed that.
Now, I'm going to say right now that my daughter, who just turned, catch this, folks, 18 just a few days ago, she has exceptionally fond memories of Shire of Heatherwine's March Hare. She always thought it was fantastic, and I believe that she was one of the giggling people that was around you when you asked your lady to be your bride, as I recall.
Yes.
Couldn't have been done by any rabbit better, I think.
Yes, that's a story for another time. But yes, I did dress as a giant rabbit and proposed to my wife. But yes, if the part where the rabbit chased the children always turned into the children chasing the rabbit. So, well, the March Hare. Well, anyway, enough about that. But pleasanter times, and we'll be together soon to have new ones. So what do you have for us for arts and sciences this week?
Well, once again, we have two things that we're going to be talking about. And in particular, what I wanted to mention is that as February was Black History Month in the United States, March is Women's History Month. And so one of the things that I will be doing this month, as I did last month, is I want to spotlight the contributions of women in not just the SCA, but also throughout history or through our time period. And so I will be doing that. If someone has a website, or they have something of that nature that deals with women within the society, I would very much like you to send me information on it so I can share it with the masses here online. And with that, I'm actually going to start with something that is not about that. So we have the G. Harney collection. This is harneyscoins.com. And in it, it is, how can I put this? Some bloke from England who decided he was going to catalog and put online Roman coins and how to do Roman coins and how to collect Roman coins. Now, before you go, hey, is this just some guy who's going to try and sell me 100 bronze coins that are, in tar, and I'm gonna have to spend, 1,000 man hours to scrub each one down? There is no sales on this site. As a matter of fact, when someone asks about how do they get coins, he doesn't mention websites or anything else. Just says, here are some suggestions on how to get involved. But Mr. Harney was just some fellow who learned coin collecting from his father, and then he decided that he was going to get into coins. Now, this is going to sound very Star Warsy, but he has it split into two categories: coins of the Roman Republic and coins of the Roman Empire. So when you see Republic and Empire, you might not think, but think it's Roman. And he talks about his own collections. He has a blog. There are ways to contact him if you would like to utilize the pictures of his catalog. But he has been spending a great deal of his time talking about how he acquired the coins that he has in his collection. And then the blog, for example, talks about Pompeii, numismatics in general, and the archaeology then goes into them. It is a really fascinating website that is the sort of thing that people who are just getting into coin collection or just interested in Roman portraiture, which is done on the coins, to people who are very, very into coin collecting and have several of their own books and their own hutches filled to the brim with coins of their collections. So this is really a website for just about anybody. The second website is more of a entry-level website, and it is psaudio.com's Women Composers of Early Music. Now, some of these composers do post-date the end of our time of study, but it basically talks about, hey, everybody knows Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, but who is Clara Schumann, or who is Hildegard von Bingen? And they talk about one of the earliest composers and poets, Cassia, who was a Byzantine poet, and they go all the way through Giulia Caccini's, even though she is known as Giulia Caccini's daughter, in point of fact, Francesca Caccini was a fantastic artisan in her own right. As a matter of fact, at that time, she was one of those women that was able to sustain her own professional career. And it talks about a lot of other performers of early music that are women. And I could not think of a better way to get someone who's just interested, who's just a fledgling interest in early music and women composers. This is an excellent website. In addition, at the end of the website, at the bottom, once you go through all of the examples, which is by no means complete, but just sort of a taste to get you into what women were writing music at this time. They have a collection of CDs that you could listen to. Of course, Hildegard's there, Cassia's there, Strozzi is there, and then groups of women such as the Trovairits, or the female troubadours, and collections of CDs thereon. They don't necessarily give you information on how to acquire them, but there's a good chance that if you just punch in the name of the CD on Amazon and one of those other places, you will most likely be able to, if not acquire it, at least get a chance to listen to it. But more and more of these things are being put in the public, in the common record, and you should be able to be downloaded or looked at. My cursory glances didn't find any sheet music, but I'm sure that if you were to speak nicely to one of your local early music people, they might be able to get you in touch with that if such is your wish. But at any rate, those are the two websites that we're talking about this week. And once again, if you have any interest whatsoever in music or performance or history or artistry of any kind of women during the society's period of study, please send me the information. I would be more than happy to share it. And that's what we have for this week.
That's fascinating. What a great, well, at least for me, unexplored area to go into on music. And it was really nice you bringing in talking about the coins and talking about them for a change. I think I'm the only one that finds those funny. So, yeah.
Well, I set the die. You stamped it.
Oh, what a coin of phrase. Anyway, who do we have coming up for that we're talking to this evening?
We have the secretary of the Grand Chefs of Gleann, who is going to be joining us this evening. A very dear friend, someone I've known, based upon the amount of time that I've known her, I think probably since she was 5. And it's Baroness Elizabeth Alexandra Donnan, who is going to be joining us this evening.
I'm so looking forward to this because I know practically nothing about it. So this is exciting for me. So here we go. Let's bring her in. And she'll be right about now. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome from the far reaches of Gleann. So
I missed Caid this summer.
well, we all missed a bunch of places this summer. So
Yeah, but I had specific plans. I was meeting up with Bjorn this summer, and I didn't get to do that. So I was hitting my West Coast buds, and that didn't happen. So
you'll have to reschedule. So well, you know what? You saw him in person this year as much as I've seen him in person this year. And I live a lot closer. So speaking of which, where in both in geopolitical within the SCA and like on a map, do you live?
I am in the Barony of Gleann, which is mundanely Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm here in the home of Elvis, home of Graceland. So.
The home of the king. So yes, I always remember a Gulf Wars where at the time it was Meridies, I believe, came around announcing the king was going to appear tonight. Please come worship the king. And it was an Elvis impersonator. So that was fantastic at the war. I truly enjoyed that. So how long have you been in the SCA?
Discrediting Bjorn. I have been in the SCA since about, I want to say 92, 91, 92. It was, I played off and on. I wasn't active. And then in about 94, 95 is when I got really active.
And have you always lived in the same area, or have you been in different kingdoms? Oh, okay.
My husband is born and raised here, so getting him to leave.
Technically, I think you've been in 2 kingdoms. You just never moved. The kingdom moved, right?
Yes, exactly. I actually got my Grand Chef from Meridies.
Right. So that brings up a good question. So there's the Grand Chefs of Meridies and the Grand Chefs of Gleann. Now,
Yes.
do y'all have like bake-offs or
no? Okay. How that all came about? See, the Grand Chefs were originally started in 1977 by Sir Robert Hightower. He was a knight in Meridies, and he wanted a way to promote feasting in the SCA. And he created this group. It was well before my time, but he created this group of individuals that took feasting or feast cratting, feast stewarding, however you call it, to a entirely different level. And then when Gleann became a principality, we started thinking about what it was that we wanted to do, because we had 5 members in our own barony here in Memphis, and we had several across the kingdom, the new kingdom of Gleann. And so we asked Sir Robert Hightower for permission to take it and do our own. here in Gleann. And so we broke off when we became kingdom, and we created our own group of grand chefs. So.
Well, that's cool. I mean, to grow and bring more people in and spread across the kingdom lines. So for those of us out here that may not know what the grand chefs are, what really are the grand chefs of Gleann?
We are a group of people. I like to call us mentors. We research historical cookery and the period recipes. Like, to become a grand chef, you have to present a feast, what we call a qualifying feast, and it is served at an SCA event, and you are critiqued on your presentation, you're critiqued on your recipes and your research, your kitchen management, your budget management, all of that. You have a set of guidelines there's that we follow as far as meeting that qualifying feast. We do prefer that you have feast cratted several events before you attempt this. And the reason why is because the actual feast, that your qualifying feast, you are cooking 21 separate dishes from 7 different cultures or cuisines. And so there's a lot of research that has to go into it. And putting that much, to give a perspective, an average feast here, and from other kingdoms that I've attended, an average feast is about 12 to 16 dishes. And you're almost doubling that at the time that you're doing a qualifying feast. So
it's crazy. So I looked up now. Are the rules for Meridier's order it's the same as for your kingdom?
Yeah, pretty much. We based off of theirs.
I printed it up.
Well, now I have not looked at it recently, so they may have changed something in the last several years. But.
All right, so just to hit a couple of high points, because this is such an endeavor. I'm so impressed with the people that go through it and are judged and become a member of your group. I mean, so like you say, you've had to prepare. The recommendation here is at least 3 feasts, if not up to 3 or more, right? And then now for judging. Is it members of the group that judge it, or
it's other grand chefs? You have to have at least 3 other grand chefs. Now we can, if for some reason you're not going to have that many grand chefs at the event, we do substitute. We have been known to substitute like the Baron and Baroness of the group or the Crown to make up the judges. But yes.
Okay.
You are basically judged or critiqued by your peers.
That's fantastic. Now, and it says that it has to be at an event, but it doesn't necessarily have to be open to the populace at the event. Is that the same for you guys too? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then they have to notify your position 6 months in advance to see if they can arrange judges and everything. Is that
well, so that we can arrange judges if we have questions about their documentation or the recipes that they're actually wanting to present.
Right.
It gives us a chance to get to know what they are envisioning for their feast and to rule out anything that might be questionable.
Right.
And give them.
And just to hit what you were saying, it has to be from at least 7 distinct and identifiable national, regional, or cultural groups. And the cultures must be from at least 4 different countries. Yes. So it's like a food tour that you're doing.
Exactly. And matter of fact, that's how I did mine. When I did my feast, my event, I themed my feast to go with the theme of the event. So.
Well, what was the theme?
It was the East meets West, and it was the Mongol invasion through Asia into Europe.
Wow, that's cool. And then, like you said, it has to be a minimum of 21 separate dishes. And then if it's a dish that's a combo like chicken and rice, that's still only one dish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 21 distinct and separate dishes that you have to document, use a period recipes.
Well, there are a lot of different ways that we we get there, because depending on your time period that you're presenting, like I did Mongol dishes, and there's not a lot there. We're getting more and more, but at the time, this was back in 2003, there was so little. And so we take extant burial information that's been gathered, and because they've been able to determine the foods that were available, and some of these cultures are still so prolific in what they do today that you can kind of tie in, what was available then or through excavation, and what they're using now. And so you can kind of piecemeal stuff together if you don't have an actual documentable recipe. So,
well, I feel sorry for anyone that digs up my body to do a buffet on, because they're going to think mac and cheese and pizza is what they would serve at a feast. And then while you're preparing it and working with your crew and everything, you have to answer questions from the people that are judges about the herbs and spices and how to prepare it in period and the regions and such. So it's kind of like you have a pop quiz in the middle of preparing the feast.
It's not as harsh as that sounds. I mean, we do go in, and a lot of that is more observing. We like to see how you are managing the kitchen. We want to know that you understand your recipes. We want to know that you understand basic modern food safety. So there are a lot of times, and we don't all do it all at once. It's not like you're going to be descended upon by 5 or 6 grand chefs. We'll pop in and out throughout the day to touch base with you and to ask questions, just to make sure that you are understanding what you're presenting. This isn't, I mean, it's kind of like Laurel's do at an A&S competition.
Right.
They want to make sure that you're understanding the material that you're presenting.
Right. And so what if something comes up in the middle of prep and you have to make a substitution or a change? Is that allowed?
It is allowed, with as much warning as possible. There are, kitchen snafus always happen. I had somebody throw my yeast away that I was planning to use for all of my dumplings and my bread that I was baking on site. So yeah, I mean, things happen, but that's another reason why you are preparing well more than the 1921 dishes. You're going to have things that don't work the way you plan them to when you're trying to manage that much food at one time. But we do allow, we've been there. We understand. We know.
Right. Now, is presentation of the final dishes part of what's being looked at too?
Yeah, but this isn't really a ranked system.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, like Mistress Ariel, she is fabulous with subtleties. That is her go-to. Mistress Sarah, she did a whole lot of sugar work, subtleties and displays for her feast. So yeah, I mean, it's a way to showcase what you can do as a cook. But I won't say that one feast outweighs the other in that regard. So because everybody has their own strengths. So. And
then is time a factor? Like, it's going to be ready at 4 o'clock and it's not ready till 7. Is that a problem, or
well,
how's that looked at?
That is frowned upon if it is outside of the feast the feast steward's realm of control. If it was something that happened at site, that would be understandable. Like I managed to pull mine off, but in the 2 weeks from the time that we did a site visit to the event, they had taken out the window ACs and installed cross blowing fans, and they were blowing out my oven pilot lights. And so I had to do some quick maneuvering and everything. Everything still went off, but it's because I allowed plenty of time. Now, if court's running over and feast doesn't start till 9 o'clock because court took too long, that's not the feastcrat's control.
Exactly.
So, but hopefully the event steward is, doing what they need to do to make sure that doesn't happen at this particular event. So,
right. And I'm going to step out of here for a minute and let Bjorn go, but I just want to reiterate that this is just for really to celebrate the love of doing feast and cooking period foods and sharing it with people. You don't get a special hat or a title or an award or
no awards. No, it's just a great big attaboy. Something that we are passionate about, and it's you get the satisfaction of a job well done and feeding lots of delicious food to people who appreciate it. So
right. And looking at the comments, it looks like I could put on a feast of mac and cheese and pizza and probably be recognized out here. Positive responses I'm getting. But I'm going to step out for a minute and let Bjorn ask some questions, and then I'll be back.
Okay.
It is good to see you, my friend.
It is so good to see you. I miss you.
I miss being there, believe me. Getting a chance to see the folks the last time I was out at Gulf Wars was too long ago. But Grand Chefs are something that I've always held in awe because of what's required. Now, so when a site is selected for someone who wants to attempt their Grand Chef qualification feast, if they want to try for the most modern kitchen available at a Woodsman's of the World or a Boy Scouts camp or Girl Scouts camp, then that is their purview, correct?
Yes.
However, if they for some reason want to cook at a primitive, that is also something that the Grand Chefs would allow? Provided
that the modern safety requirements are met, then yes. If they are maintaining food temperatures, for both storage and cooking and holding, then yes. If they have taken all that into account, then yes. I don't know of any that have been done at a primitive site or a primitive kitchen. Meridier's may have had some. I don't believe we have. Not in the last several years. The 3 that we've made in the last several years. So.
Now, one of the things that separates places like Anstiora, Meridier's, Gleann, perhaps Callantyre from a lot of our knowledge here in Caid is that many of the events that you have are weekend events. Is that correct?
Yes.
So someone shows up Friday night late, they go to Troll, they check in, they either set up their pavilion or tent, or they go to the cabins on the site, and then it's there's breakfast, there's lunch, there's a feast, and then there's usually a traveler's fair breakfast as folks break down and head out that Sunday. Is the Grand Chef responsible just for the feast, or are they also responsible for example, the Traveler's Soup Kitchen Friday night, or breakfast on Saturday and lunch, or do they just usually focus on their feast?
Well, that varies by group and by chef, by feast steward. Like I have always been responsible for all the food when I am the feast steward for an event for Grey Nish. I handle all the food. I usually pull people in who are responsible for making sure that it's served and cooked and all that. But the menus or the management of that food falls under me. Now, there are several other events where it's totally separate. The feast is the feast, and then there's somebody else that handles everything else. And I'm not familiar with other kingdoms as to how they handle the food and stuff, but here it's going to vary by group dynamic. So.
Now, having done I've done a few feasts myself. I understand that there is usually a per head amount of money that is set aside that is taken into account by either being above the salt or if feasts included in the site fee, depending. Is there a particular amount of money that is utilized by grand chefs? Like, I want to do 7 ahead or 5 ahead. I'm assuming it would, as much as they can get, considering there are 21 dishes involved minimum. But what roughly is the cost per person?
Again, that's going to vary because costs are going to be different in other areas. Some groups have a much smaller budget than we do. I was lucky enough that I had a group that had prominent grand chefs, and they support this type of event. So I was able to get the additional funds. Maestro Giacomo, he pulled in. He's instructor at a culinary school, college, excuse me. This year he's teaching high school students, but he was able to pull resources from his job to cut costs. And he actually ended up coordinating his help with as some of his students, and they got credit for working the event. So, everything changes. Everybody's dynamic is different, and it varies. But we take that into consideration when we're critiquing. We look at all that.
I should hope so. Now, of course, being that we are a nonprofit, a 501(c)(3) corporation, and that there are certain entanglements that for financial liability, there's also alcohol being used to cook with. Now, if a group does or does not, and also, if I may say, in Gleanavon, Meridies, there still are dry counties in some states in the Southeast. Yeah. So it's not as easy necessarily, but for a grand chef that for the purposes of their recipes, they have alcohols that are part of that. Is that something that they would then they would assume the costs themselves?
I don't know. That's an answer I don't know, because it wasn't as much of an issue when I got mine back in 2003. I don't know if the rules were different or if it was an ingredient that was covered, because it wasn't being served. It was being used to cook with.
Oh, that could definitely make a difference. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was handled different. That would be a question for somebody higher up. I don't know.
The only thing is I wanted to ask is that so they talk about feasts being held at events, and that having a 3 grand chefs there to critique and ask questions and follow along. Now out here we have something called the cast iron chef, and it is something that is done on site. Basically primitive kitchens where people are given ingredients. It's a lot like the Iron Chef on television. But they have time limits, and they also have only a certain number of people that are allowed in the cooking area, plus someone who might plate or someone who might manage the actual the dispersal of the food. Are there any limitations to the grand chef on how many members of staff they can have, like how many servers, someone who only plates, or someone who does all of the washing of the dishes, or is it just in case by case basis?
The only limitation time-wise is the entire feast has to be served within a 3-hour time window. From the moment the first dish walks out the door of the kitchen to the last. It needs to be done in 3 hours. As far as staff, that is strictly up to the purview of the grand or the person attempting. Because like I said, not everybody has the resources that Giacomo did, but he pulled in people that he knew were going to do what he needed done the way he wanted it done. And I have absolutely no problem with that, because you want people that you can rely on when you're trying to put that much food out.
Now, is there a minimum number of seats that have to be served at a grand chef feast?
No. And this is something that I was looking at. People kind of give me the side eye when I tell them that I used to cook for 150 to 175 people on a regular basis. And my grand chef was for 170 people.
Well,
And
to be fair, where you are, whether it's Meme and Shelby State Park, or since those are areas that are near and dear to me as well, when you have kitchen facilities that allow to be up to
yeah,
200 people, and that's seating available indoors, it's you are making numbers that are very foreign to most of the places in the SCA that only have day feasts. The idea
yeah.
of having more than 100 people at a feast is exceptionally rare.
Well, and
Especially
that has changed a lot over the years, because we here in Graynish, we don't even cook for that many anymore. I think the most that they cook for now is between 100 and 125. Event sizes have gone down, which affects your budget and what you can provide. So there have been a lot of things that have changed over the years. And like I said, I did mine back in 2003. So, we've had some time for things to alter. But every group is different. The dynamic is different as far as what their events, the facilities that they have. There are groups in Mississippi that, like you said, we've got Meme and Shelby, so we've got a decent kitchen. It's not the best. There are some others that, down in Vicksburg, I remember the site down there that was just phenomenal. But every group has to work with what they've got. And that's where the feast steward has the ability to control what they're doing. They are the ones presenting the feast. They are the ones that have to make sure that they are comfortable with the facilities that they have, the budget they have, and if they're not comfortable with it, they can either go outside their group and do it for somebody else's group, or they can, wait for another site.
The last thing I wanted to ask you is one of the things that I have found most fantastic during the holiday season that just passed is the Grand Chefs had a 12 days of series of videos that also had an accompanying PDF file that was online. And I'm looking right at the camera right now. People of Caid, I will make sure to link this on our Live from Caid webpage so you can see this. It is phenomenal. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how the 12 days of Grand Chefs overarching set of dishes and things came to be? How exactly did that come to be?
Okay, that came about. We had a A&S social, and Mistress Roz here in Glenavon, she was hosting it, and she suggested that there be a bake-off, like a Grand Chef bake-off. And I kid you not, I turned away from the camera because I have the worst memory. So doing competitions like that, to where you have to have everything in your head and go from that, I was like, no, there's no way I'm getting involved in that. And I turned away from the camera. And then somebody mentioned doing the 12 days of cooking, and everybody highlight their own unique recipe. And I'm still shying away because, me, I don't do the camera. Up until that, I hadn't even been doing anything live. And Mistress Roz organized the whole thing. She got us all involved, and we set out, and we had 12 days starting. I want to say it was the day after Christmas. I don't think it was Christmas Day. I think it was the 26th. And it ran through January. And we each picked a day, and we got to pick our own recipe of what we wanted to do. Maestro Giacomo and I did live segments instead of doing recorded segments. But that was all the brainchild of Mistress Roz. She was the one that was trying to get Glenavon doing some active things. And it was her babe, her and Dot.
It was fantastic to see PDF files of redacted recipes, and then a YouTube video embedded in each one where the Grand Chef would give a demonstration and talk about the ingredients and how it was done in period, and then do it as a presentation on video. It was really fascinating.
That
And
was all the magic of Dot. Dot did that. She was fabulous. She took all the videos, did all the editing. She did all the promo work for it. She did the newsletter at the end when we got it all done. But yeah, they were a fabulous team. Getting to work on that project, that was the first time I have ever done anything like that in my life, because I am camera shy. I was surprised that how not scary it actually was, and being able to actually get to doing that kind of thing. And so when you approached Mr. Spalada about doing this, it's like, yeah, I'm interested. You know, we can do this. But that was the start of it. And matter of fact, we're supposed to have another one. We were planning it for the week of Gulf Wars, but that's not going to happen. It's been delayed a little bit. The ice and snow that we had that we normally don't get, and now we've got a week's worth of rain, so we haven't been able to get out and do it was going to be siege and campaign cooking. So it was going to be outdoor cooking over a fire kind of type video series. So it's coming. Just I don't know exactly when it's going to air. So
all I know is that since I am a constant lurker on the Kingdom of Gleanavon page, I'm going to be looking for that. And when that happens, I'm definitely going to let the folks of Caid know, because those the Grand Chefs did an amazing job. And I wanted to take a time to personally thank you, Elizabeth, Your Excellency. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk with us about the Grand Chefs, because it's a memory that I had since I was 15, of seeing these folks that there's no award involved. You don't have to be a peer to be, you just have to be someone that's so invested in cooking for folks. And so I've always looked upon y'all with a great amount of awe.
And see, and exactly, and that's what I love about it is there is no award, and I'm not even an associate, you know. So I do everything that I do because I love doing it. I love cooking for people. I love presenting feasts. I love mentoring people, getting them in the kitchen. That was one of the things that Dot said she loved about the series that we did, was she felt like she could cook, you know, because we broke things down in a way that was understandable for them. You know, even if you're a non-cook, you know, we want you to break that barrier and come in and join us in the kitchen.
Well, I really, once again, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for letting us know about this, because it is a wonderful organization that I think really tries to adhere to not just the modern sensibilities of what is required for food safety, but also shedding light on period recipes in a way that are approachable to even the most novice person in a kitchen. And I just wanted to thank you so much, Your Excellency, for coming on and telling us all about it this evening.
Thank you.
And hopefully my dear friend will be coming back.
Here I am. Oh my gosh. I went on and made one of those blue boxes of mac and cheese, so I'm good. All right, so now it's time to play our little trivia game, which I know you're very excited about. All of our guests are. So, Bjorn, hey, what's the name of this week's game?
The game this evening, for Her Excellency, is A Recipe for Success.
Oh, see what I did there? They're chefs. So I'm just going to read off period ingredients, and you tell me that. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, that would be awesome. So, you know, you're chefs, you're grand chefs, so of course you're going to know popular chefs in the real world. So I'm going to show you a picture of a chef, and you just have to identify who it is. See, I can tell you're excited about it already, and the audience will play along.
This is the worst thing for me, Julia Child.
Well, see, okay, so now that's the attitude. Oh, it's terrible, and you know her right off the bat. So yes, that is Julia Child. Okay, so
it's the modern ones that I'm gonna have trouble with. So,
okay, so who would this be? I'll make it bigger.
Okay.
He does a lot of frozen pizzas, although I don't think that's what's here. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's Wolfgang
Puck.
So,
Okay.
so Bjorn, you can play along too because you can help your friend.
Please.
So you ready for
Can
this?
I call a friend?
Yeah. So here's the next one. What chef is that?
Chef Boyardee.
That's correct. You don't know Wolfgang Puck, but you know Chef Boyardee. Okay, so
I have 4 kids. What can I say?
that's true. Little raviolios. Okay, so who's this next one?
Nope. I know him, but I don't know his name. I'm bad.
Bjorn, do you have an idea?
Cauldron.
This is not Spock.
It's Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay. I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup either. Oh, okay. So here's one for you. How about her? Who's this?
Rachel Ray.
See, you're doing well. How about this one?
No. I used to watch his show. Bjorn, help me out. I can't remember.
People playing at home, this would be Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so can't give you credit for that one. But who's this?
I don't know him. I mean, I know him, but
His scarf looks delicious.
Someone with a very unhealthy relationship with his own sausage.
And that would be Mario Batali. Okay, so we're almost done. We're almost done. You're doing fine. You're doing fine. How about this one? Who's this?
Swedish Chef.
Okie dokie. Yes. See. Okay. Last one. So who would this be?
Bang.
Yes. Bam. It's the Bam guy.
Emerald Lagasse, ladies and gentlemen. Emerald Lagasse.
Emerald Lagasse. Yes. So
I just want to notice that she got every other one, and I think she did that on purpose just to make the people at home feel comfortable with answering too. So thank you, Your Excellency, for giving folks a shot.
yes, 50%. That's better than some. So see, and you thought it was going to be painful, but
You just don't understand. Trivia is not my thing. That was the worst part about school.
right.
Associating names and dates and no.
Well, I want to echo what Bjorn said earlier, and thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. It's fascinating for me, and all the work and passion that your group has to help share not only the knowledge but the food in a period setting with such an undertaking.
Food is love.
It's amazing, and feeding 170 people—that's insane. But anyway, and I was going to say, siege cooking to me means food you serve with a trebuchet.
Food fight.
That'd be awesome. Oh my God. The mashed potatoes. Ooh, I wonder if we could do that at Great Western. Anyway, so I got sidetracked. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
and
you.
It was a pleasure to meet you and really find out about this unique group that's out there in your kingdom. I'm amazed. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, if you ever make it out this way, we'll be able to be sure to take you on a food tour. So
That'd be fantastic. As long as there's mac and cheese, I'm good. All righty. I'll see y'all later. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Well,
You talked about mac and cheese, but the fact is she's in Memphis, and mac and cheese is just one of those side dishes you'll have with dry rib ribs and I mean, come on, it's the South. I know what Kansas City says. I know what Texas says. I know what the Carolinas say about barbecue, but Memphis is where it's at. There's the Memphis in May barbecue competition every year. If you want gator tail chili, that's where you go.
Who doesn't enjoy a good dry rub? Anyway, I can see our next guest laughing at that last comment. So obviously, we're going to have a lot more fun. So who do we have coming up?
We have the Bard of the Canton of Summergate. Lady Mella is someone who we both know on the rapier field, in addition to just being a phenomenal artisan and performer. And so we're just really fortunate to have her with us tonight.
All righty, well, let's bring her on. She's been very patient. And let's bring her on to the show right about now. Hello.
Hi, how's it
Oh my
going?
gosh, you look so picturesque. It's such a nice venue as opposed to me with my fake bookshelf. So how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm a little warm. I've been sitting in front of this fire for a bit.
No, I, I swear y'all should have done popcorn, but anyway.
I know.
So I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. You are the Bard of Summergate, and let's get kind of the getting to know you part out right quick. So how long have you been in the SCA?
I think about 3 years, maybe a little more than that now. Yeah, I got started. I found it through Comic-Con.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So.
yeah. So because California does a huge presence at Comic-Con when we can do it in person.
Mhm.
So you kind of recruited through that. Now,
Yeah.
okay, so were you wearing a costume when you were at Comic-Con? Hmm?
I usually do. I usually dress up.
So you remember what you were wearing when you got introduced to the SCA? I'm just curious.
I can't remember. No, unfortunately.
Don't ask me what I dressed up when I got to
It
Comic-Con.
took a while from like that first contact to actual, and there's some like D&D in between, and then it's like I couldn't just fantasize about it anymore. I needed to like put an actual sword in my hand. So
Awesome. So it was the fighting that brought you in, though. Nice.
Very much so.
So is that your sword in the background?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, a little rapier.
Very nice. So did you kind of expand into Bardic performances, or you do that outside the SCA and just brought it in? How'd that come about?
Yeah, I've been playing music since I was 14 years old. I've been writing music since I was 11. Wow. So it's just sort of been a part of my life always. I am in a band, and we do a lot of like Irish folk music, and we do some traditionals as well. So it's really fun to kind of learn songs, but knowing that I can also use them in the SCA and use them out in public in bars and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
We should hook you up with Duke Guy. He has an Irish performing band, so that'd be awesome. You go up to his castle and perform. So do you do any original stuff? Do you write your own?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff. And I've just really started getting into more kind of period sounding music. It's a lot of fun. I've always loved mostly like Irish folk, but just kind of folk from around the world. It's really something I enjoy, and I've been playing guitar, so I like to see what I can incorporate from different folk styles.
Right. So you play the guitar. Do you play any other instruments, or is that where you focus right now?
Guitar is my main. I started with piano and kind of branched out. I did a little harmonica, banjo, kind of just like folky music.
Right.
But yeah, mostly with guitar. I do a little ukulele sometimes.
That's great. That's so fantastic. So I understand you're going to do two pieces for us tonight. Can you tell us about the first one?
Definitely. So this is the song that I won the Bardic competition at Summergate for. I kind of drew from my own personal experiences. The song is called The Duel, and it is about a female rapier fighter who falls in love with another fighter through a series of duels. And so it's definitely drawn from my own experiences. My Great Western, not the last one that we had, but maybe a couple before. It was like right when I was first kind of getting into it. I hadn't quite yet fought. My maestro, Master Tyndall, told me to go to the Sea Beggars, find the guy with the mustache, and ask him for a fight. So I saw there was a procession for Master Riderick, who was going to get elevated at that moment. So everybody's all in a group, and I found him. I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, "Hey, do you want to fight?"
Oh.
And that's how we met.
Well, it's very nice of Tyndall to set you up with a very easy fight.
We did fight at that moment because we were both in our fancies.
Right.
But a couple months later in December, we actually did end up fighting. It was really funny when I pulled up to that practice. There was this person fighting that I hadn't seen before. And I even said aloud, I was like, "Who is that?" Because I had never seen somebody move the same way I did. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pretty sure that's why Tyndall wanted me to fight him, because it's a very similar styles and the way we move. And when we did, it was just this, I don't know, kind of magical moment for me. I've never had a fight quite like that. And so that's kind of what this song is about.
That's awesome. Well, let's hear the song.
Yeah. a duel around the winter season. I can see the fire in his eyes. Must have took me for a fool who never set foot in school when I cut him down to his surprise. We shook each other's hands and knew we'd fight again in the season or the next. But I won't forget that day we both walked away, feeling ever so slightly vexed. I saw him at a war, he looked just like he did before, lit the fire from his head to his feet. But something in me changed when we crossed our blades again, and I wanted to climb him like a tree. When I saw his face that night in the twilight, my beating heart was pierced. And it's just my dumb luck to have been so struck by a burning love so fierce. We crossed our blades again sometime around the winter's end, when flowers started blooming in the trees. And I think I need a drink, because before I even blinked, he had cut me down so clean. Should I tell him what I want? Should I be so blunt? Propriety be damned. So I took Sandy, and he smiled at me when I asked him for a dance. We were caught in a tavern fight one late summer night. There was fire blazing in the hearth. So we stood up side by side and we fought with all our might till the sunrise woke the birds. No love is quite as sweet as love he gives to me when we move in perfect time. He was once a bitter foe, now I love him most. I am his, and he is mine. He was once a bitter foe, now I love him most. I am his, and he is mine.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
What a great song. And you have a second song for us tonight too?
I do. It's kind of in the same theme.
Well, if you're inspired, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this one is a slightly more, I would say, kind of more contemporary. It still kind of draws from those roots, but it is about the last Potrero that we had, and there was that rainstorm right at the last night, and that was kind of the night that, you know, Eric and I, he looked away from me. Eric and I, we had our first kiss. So this song is called The Captain's Kiss, since he's the captain of the Sea Beggars.
I like captain. Okay. All right, let's hear the song.
All right. To the Sea Beggars Inn to get out of the storm rolling in. There came a storm, but I was safe and warm, singing songs about whiskey and gin. Whiskey and gin, whiskey and gin. We laughed by the firelight, telling stories about our past lives. I drank 10 pints of wine and was feeling rather fine when I saw him from the corner of my eye. From the corner of my eye. when he walked ever closer to me. Should I let down my hair for that captain so fair? Should I dive into his deep blue sea? Should I dive into his deep blue sea? We ran out of the sea beggars inn to taste the rain falling on our lips. I had to run away, but that night I'd long to stay 'neath the warmth of that captain's kiss. 'Neath the warmth of that fair captain's kiss. 'Neath the warmth of that fair captain's kiss. 'Neath the warmth of that fair captain's kiss.
Oh, wonderful! What an amazing voice! I'm gonna go ahead and bring Bjorn in. Hey, Bjorn, that was wonderful. Thank you for those.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Truly lovely voice. Well
Yeah.
played.
Oh wow. Well, I'm glad we had the opportunity to have you on, and hopefully soon we'll be able to cross blades again.
I hope so. I don't know. Have I ever fought you now that I think about it? Like outside of the melee field? I don't know if I've ever encountered
Oh
you.
well, if you fought me, you'd remember. No, I don't know.
I guess we'll have to.
I will put you on the dance card. How about that?
Great.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us this evening. So good to see you. It's been such a long time, and hopefully we'll get together again soon.
Hopefully, yes.
Looking
Okay.
forward to it. And please give our regards to the birthday fellow.
Oh yes, I have a live audience right over here, so they've been watching this whole time. Happy birthday! Thanks.
That's his normal voice, by the way.
Yes.
And have a great rest of your night, and we'll see each other soon. That was wonderful. Oh my God.
It certainly was.
Oh gosh. So a great show. I learned all about the Grand Chefs, and I got to see someone perform I had never seen perform before. That was fantastic.
I have had the pleasure of hearing her before, and I actually have not fenced her since when I came back. I basically threw on heavy gear, and I'll get to the rapier field eventually. But I have seen her fight, and she is quite a formidable person on the field. So I'll have to do that as well. But,
Yeah, and she's not handicapped at all by training with Jarek, so it's great. I know he's still watching. So anyway.
Before we go any further,
Yeah.
I would like to take one brief moment, a bit of, this is self-serving, but I would like to wish a very happy birthday to the 40th Queen of Caid, Countess Karina. I know she's watching. Also, she is my apprentice. And Your Excellency, I hope you had a wonderful birthday today up there in the frozen north. And please know that Caid is thinking about you on your special day. So I had to get that out there. I had to do that.
That's awesome. And I had good fortune. She was the first queen I had the opportunity to serve as Queen Rapier Champion. So she has a special place in my heart too. So happy birthday, Your Excellency. So that's our show for tonight. Well, let's talk about who we have next week. Next week, we have a representative coming on to talk about the Chalice of Meridies, which is another unique order. And it's similar yet really different than one of the ones we've talked about before, and it's fascinating some of how it works. I'm really looking forward to having that conversation and learning how to talk by that time too. Who do we have coming up for Bardic?
It's another one of the situations to where we're trying to figure out how to get the logistics of it done. The one general that we had from Lohawk actually was heading into the Pacific, like southeast east, I guess, at the time that we were trying to speak with them. And they were like, I'm so very sorry, but live from Caid Monday night would actually be Tuesday afternoon where I am. Can we rearrange this? So, by the way, safe travels to your lordship. So we're trying to figure out who we're going to have in place. So I don't know yet, but we're working on it.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Bjorn. It's good to see you. Welcome to March, and thank you for the show this evening.
Thank you again, as always, sir.
And to everyone else that are watching, thank you for joining us. And join us next week when once again we will be live
from Caid.
We'll see you then.